Sekiro, shadows die twice. Hell fucking yeah, dudes! Alright, so I'm sure all of you freaking noticed that the embargo dropped on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and before everyone freaks out, 3 things. 1, today's video happened because I was actually a part of a select group of YouTubers and streamers that got flown out to Tokyo, Japan to not only play Sekiro, but to talk to Miyazaki himself. And when I say play, I mean I played the game for a good 6 to 8 hours. And what I played seemed like was the full build of the game. The polish is for sure there, considering the game comes out in just a few weeks. 2, I want to link videos of the other people's stuff who came on this trip with me. Big shoutouts to Vati Vidya, who is the king of Blood Souls lore. He's an incredible human being, and his video is probably 10 times better than this one. His coverage so far in Sekiro has been phenomenal, and anything I say will probably be wrong compared to his wonderful insight. Please go subscribe to him, I promise you won't regret it. And 3, I wasn't paid to make today's video, I was just given this really cool opportunity to play the game, and it was all thanks to Activision and FromSoftware, so thank you guys for having me. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is the next installment in the Blood Souls series, but in a way where it's like an inverted attempt at reinventing what we know of the franchise thus far. Whereas Bloodborne and the Dark Souls games were about the world and the atmosphere built around said worlds, where you have a character that's just kind of thrusted into the chaos, Shadows Die Twice is the exact opposite, where the narrative is very much the focal point and the world is more on the secondary side. That's not to say the world isn't interesting. Now for me, usually, the Sengoku period of Japan is a setting that's not really for me, but the story combined with the gameplay made me enjoy the world and its fascinating spiral into death. Alright, so being upfront here, I've kind of ignored a lot of the coverage of Sekiro thus far because I wanted to wait to play the game for myself. So if you've been following the info cycle on everything Sekiro, some of the things I'm going to say are basic stuff you probably already know. For everyone else, buckle up! Our main character is simply known as Wolf, a shinobi that you play in the game, and he's a pretty badass character. Without spoiling a lot of the early game stuff, and trust me, a completionist video for sure is coming in the next few months, Wolf is a young boy who gets taken in by the Ashina clan during an insane battle within a massive war. Years later, Wolf is raised to become a master shinobi, and his purpose now is to serve and protect a young boy. And from the likes of the opening, he does a poor job of doing so, getting his arm completely torn off, alluding to his untimely death. I really like this approach that FromSoftware is taking, putting the plot as one of the most important things forward. It's them showing they're trying to prove that they can tell an endearing story. To go along with this, they're shifting away from multiplayer. In fact, a lot of the usual expected things from a Dark Souls game is being reworked in this one. For example, there's only one main katana that we can use as our main weapon. No getting axes or spears or swords that replace the katana. The katana will be the weapon we have the entire game, but that doesn't mean we can't upgrade it. You can gather resources to upgrade it to make it more powerful, but that also does not mean you won't get other side weapons as well. The prosthetic arm is the most bizarre thing to come from this game, but for me, it's the thing I love the most. This arm provides Wolf with insane superhuman abilities that lets him leap all over the place. Kind of reminds me of Bionic Commando, but even better. The ability to leap around provides so much freaking diversity with mobility. This thing is flippin' rad. I would even argue that the only thing that really transfers over from Blood Souls to this is the font of the text as well as the UI. But the combat is so different. When it comes to Shadows Die Twice, a new mechanic has been introduced called posture. It's essentially parrying, but the enemy has a posture meter. Whenever you attack, you build your enemy's posture up. Once you've struck your enemies enough times, their posture meter will max out, and then you can land a finishing blow. On smaller enemies, you will basically insta-kill them. On bosses, however, it's a much bigger challenge. You yourself also have your own posture meter, which means if it builds up, you're in for some trouble. But if you can learn to parry and block at the right time, you can reflect some of that posture back onto your enemy. In the end, all of these changes lead to 2 things: faster combat and more floaty air mechanics. And while both of these things I love, dodging and rolling is kind of not as viable as it used to be. Yes, you can still jump away during combat, but more often than not, you will get hit. The game wants you to focus on parrying to protect your own posture meter. Previous Blood Soul games rewards players when they backstab enemies to gain the advantage in most battle situations. With Sekiro, stealth is an absolute must, it feels like. Or at least I prefer it. You can take out enemies much faster and more guaranteed with death blow hits if you are quiet and quick. You no longer have a stamina meter, and larger enemies have a red circle next to their name to demonstrate that they've got more health. Now, Just throwing it out there. The boss fights in this game are plentiful, chaotic, but so damn rewarding when you do it. Look, I'm just gonna say what happened when I played. I stumbled upon this crazy chained, red, blinded ogre thing that started to drop kick me and grab me with wrestling moves, and holy crap, he was tough. I kept fighting him time and time and time and time and time and time and time again, and I couldn't kill him. But I found out that enemies with red eyes are weaker to other moves if I get this upgrade flamethrower move for the prosthetic. So I went, explored, found a map that had that, got that move, and came back. And even when I came back, this ogre still killed me all the time. At one point during this fight, one of the most badass things I ever did was attack this guy, get kicked off a ledge, and then at the last second, I grappled my way back up to get into the fight again. And in the end, like all of the Blood Soul bosses before this game, the reward of beating this ogre was well worth it. I thought to myself, yo, I want more boss fights like this. And then, I kid you not, moments fucking later, no joke, I was running through this monk temple area, being attacked by monks who've been playing a ton of Street Fighter games, and I jumped into the sunroof of this temple area only to find another boss. And this one literally was a combination of a liquor from Resident Evil 2 and Wolverine. Dear freaking God, the adrenaline of trying to fight this bastard was pumping through my veins. I eventually beat him, but I had to cheese my way through the fight. And that's the thing I really loved about Sekiro. The adrenaline. It's the same adrenaline I got from previous Blood Soul games, and it was right here. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is really focusing on two things: the fantastical beasts and people you'll have to battle using the power of being a master shinobi, and the beautiful yet tragic cycle of death and rebirth. This is very evident with the introduction of the dying mechanic. Of course, in Blood Soul games, you die a lot. It's just facts. But in Sekiro, there's a brand new curse mechanic that actually punishes you the more you die. There's a disease that essentially rots the world from within inside because of the main character's curse of being reborn after death. Now, me and a group of influencers asked Miyazaki, the president of FromSoftware and director of the game, a bunch of questions. And while there were a lot of questions asked, I wanted to end today's video with his response to this question about the dying mechanic and how punishing it can be. Now, this is a direct quote and it's a little long, but I think it's interesting to see and hear. This idea of being brought back from the dead is sort of this character's curse. We wanted to try and depict that through the mechanical side, the gameplay side, and the story side as well. This kind of adds to a sense of being a dark hero. He's so far gone that he starts to affect those around him and in the world around him. It does add a roleplay element. We want you to kind of get engrossed in that character and feel that responsibility, and maybe try to avoid deaths in future playthroughs. But hopefully through the mechanic, you can sort of realize what sort of person he is. So it just allows a more tangible way to interconnect mechanics with the story. While this does impact the world around you and it has a bit of emotional value added to it, we don't want players who are going to be dying a lot from the situation to get worse and worse. But of course, we need a strict punishment for death. We want players to feel like they want to avoid death. At the same time, we don't want to make it a living hell for them when they're experiencing repeated deaths. We just want them to experience that flavor in the world, what it means to die and what it really means to come back. So what do you guys think? Did I confuse you enough? Or did I share a few things that you thought were cool about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice? If you can't tell, I had a freaking blast playing this game, and I cannot wait to complete this bad boy in just a couple of months. Let me know what you thought about the game in the comments down below. And hey, if you want to check out some other creators who made some awesome content, click the links in the description box down below or any of the ones on screen right now. Thank you for watching, and have a great day, guys.